So Jane, in our world today, there's a lot of feelings and pressures and tensions and stresses that people are feeling. And something I know you talk into quite a lot with a lot of different people is the whole area of boundaries. Now, obviously that word can be fairly loaded. There's a lot of connotation and baggage that can come with the idea of boundaries. But can you help unpack what actually boundaries are and maybe how they can help us in our world?
Yeah, great question. Boundaries are very simply a property line. They are not, they often can be construed as something that I do against people, but actually boundaries are for my personal internal structure. They're about me. And that sounds kind of selfish, but it's actually about my self-life and the relationship that I have with myself. So boundaries do two things. In the physical world, we can see them, and that's by fences and hedges and gates and things like that. But we also have an internal world as well that the same thing applies. So we have a property that is inside us. It's our internal world. And just the same as the physical world, you can see the definition. We also need to have a definition inside ourselves, our internal structure. So boundaries do two jobs. The first one is that it defines my internal property. And the second thing it does is protects what's in there. Right. And so there's a lot of anxiety too in life because we can't actually define our property. We don't know what that is. People can come and go in and out of it, and we can sort of lose our sense of self.
Feels kind of insecure, right?
Absolutely.
Unsafe almost.
Yeah. So it's I remember feeling very much like that myself, and it's the reason why I started investigating this material, because I couldn't really find a pathway for myself. I was a young mum, right, and I was feeling very very lost, really.
Sure.
And
can I ask on that?
Yeah.
Were there things that triggered those feelings? Like you say, you're a young mum raising kids. Were there certain moments that highlighted, oh my gosh, there's something I need to deal with here?
Yeah. Yes, I think I felt very ill-equipped for marriage, motherhood, you name it.
Hey, hands up, I feel unequipped for motherhood. Fatherhood.
Very ill-equipped in life, and yet I grew up in a very loving household, but it wasn't very, I suppose it didn't give me a lot of internal structure inside myself. So I was very very broad, very wafty, very sort of didn't really know who I was very well. So when I had the pressures of marriage and children and all that sort of stuff, that did actually accentuate that, that ill-equipment, the fact that I wasn't really that well equipped. Right. And so I actually noticed I was starting to get a bit depressed. And so I pulled myself up by the shoestraps and said, that is not the trajectory that I want to go. So what would be, just sort of thinking, what on earth do I do about myself, really? Because I was very miserable.
Yeah. Can I ask, when you say that, obviously that's a word that as well, is very common, and in our world today, in depression, anxiety, we hear these words all the time. For you, when you started to notice that, were there certain behaviours, certain ways of thinking that you noticed that go, you know what, there's something not right here?
Yes. Actually, I remember asking my friend, do I look weird to you? Am I a bit weird here? Yeah. And she said, well, there's a flatness. Right. There's a sense of, I'm drained. I don't have any inspiration for the day. I really would like to go to bed, but I have 2 children and a husband at home, and, so that isn't happening. But there's a very deep sort of flatness and perhaps a sense of loss, and so I did start investigating, and at that time, the boundaries material was being written. It's about 30-something years ago. Wow. And so I just love, I have really been grateful for the opportunity to grow, because when people have a need, we tend to be motivated to do something about that. So I was feeling that need, and I did not want to go down the pathway that I have seen other people do that, and other mums, and find themselves in a hole and have to find a way out.
And isn't it so true that sometimes it's not for lack of intent. Like people want, they are experiencing maybe some of the things that you've experienced, and the feelings you're feeling, and they want to grow. They want to get unstuck. They want to move forward in life and have that sense of definition and protection around their world. But they just don't have that framework, right? That boundary and that sense of pathway that they can move forward to get themselves out. Isn't it? Yeah.
I think something that we don't do it emotionally. We don't get there by trying harder.
Right.
We actually get there by basically getting some information, some knowledge. I think that's what really helped me. I just needed some information about life, really, and about myself. And so the Boundaries material is about my self-life. So it's my identity and how I protect what is in there. The main thing that comes up is ownership.
Right.
Ownership of my own life, so that I am the carer of my own life. I'm responsible for this life.
Sure.
I have things in it that are precious, and I own things. I own actually everything inside me, regardless of how it got there.
Yeah.
Which can sound an ouch kind of question, so
you're taking responsibility for the good
and the bad.
Right?
That's right. So what is ever loaded in my heart, I own it, regardless of how it came to be that way, which is, it sounds a very caustic statement. And how do I take on board something that I actually wasn't the perpetrator of? No, but it went into my heart. So when I own my own feelings, attitudes, behaviours, there's a little list of things I own: my feelings, my attitudes, behaviours, my choices, my talents, my loves, my limits, and things that is my personal treasures that I actually need to take care of and don't allow everything to come in and out of it at will.
You were sharing a little bit earlier with me an image that you had of yourself. Can you share that again?
Yeah, I was feeling quite out of control, and I think I felt quite low. I felt quite dark. And so I used to have this reoccurring image of walking down a dark alley. I could see still, but I realised it was a dark alley and all the rubbish bins are lined up, and I've got wall to wall and I'm quite constrained. And up as ahead, when I'm looking to go to the future, I see this great big maroon coloured roller door.
Right.
And it goes to the sky, and I'm really stuck.
Yeah.
And I've got these walls around me and a roller door in front of me. And it's sort of, I remember seeing that in my head quite a few times, thinking, what is that? And I started to, realise I was very enclosed and very stuck. I had no path. And when I'm looking through that roller door, I'm thinking, how on earth am I ever going to get out of this? I do not want to spend the rest of my life behind this roller door.
Sure.
So that was, that was my quirky little impression of that. But I found, as I came to look at this material and ownership, particularly, I am the owner of my life, and the owner has control, and they bear the consequences or reap the benefits of the state or the condition of that life.
And when you came to that point and you made that, you kind of crossed over that line of, I'm going to take ownership and responsibility and own everything I'm thinking and feeling. Was it all internal, or were there some physical things you did to kind of help support that shift you made?
Yeah, I learnt.
Sure.
I got myself some videos,
okay, good.
and which were, back then, 30 years ago, I plugged them in and
VHS,
I used to watch them every day just to learn. And I found that when you're taking ownership of your life, you can find the good things and the not so good things. But I found I had a lot of resentment in my heart.
Sure.
And I realised, to carry around resentment for the rest of your life is behind a roller door. There is no future or liberty or sort of freedom in carrying around these heavy things in my heart. But when you come to take ownership of it, you can sort of purge it. You can disown it. Sure. You can forgive what's needed to be forgiven. You can reconcile, and you can trust. By the way, they're not the same things. They're quite different things, and we tend to blur them together. Yeah. But there is a pathway. That I think was the thing that was exciting.
Yeah.
to me that there is a pathway.
Because you suddenly felt equipped, right?
Absolutely.
Like, there's actually a roadmap I can follow. Yeah.
And I remember looking for that roller door every now and again. And every now and again, I'd sort of say, so where is that roller door, you know? And I would, no, I'm looking over there and I see a green hill.
Wow.
You know, so I don't see that roller door anymore. Amazing. So that was a pretty big shift for me.
It's huge. I'd love to know, once that started to happen and you were feeling that shift internally and even your internal, what you were seeing was changing and going to green, that's beautiful. What was the things you were starting to experience externally? Did things change immediately? What was the fruit of those decisions?
Not that I remember, but I changed. And I think that is the point, because as I'm changing, I am viewing my world in a different way.
Sure.
And I'm removing resentment by choice, and recognizing that is something really, it's a very big one, resentment, I think, because it does cloud your soul, you know, it makes your soul really heavy. And to process those things properly, the boundaries material did help me do that.
It's amazing.
Very well.
I love that, because so often we blame our external world for some of the things we're feeling, and to say, no, actually it's the things within my power that I can change. And it's like that filter over your eyes, and suddenly you're seeing in a whole new light, and so it's amazing.
I think I'm a life coach, and so I learnt some things about that I already knew from the boundary material. But there's like a line, and down here is the person who lives in blame, excuse, and denial. And above the line is where ownership, accountability, and response-ableness live.
Right.
So we really have to take that journey to get up over that line, and ownership does that.
Right.
And so I think that's a crucial piece, learning to take ownership of whatever I find inside myself.
Yeah, amazing. Well, hey, Jane, thank you so much for all your wisdom.
Thanks, Mitch. Great to talk to you.